G'day guys, Robert back. More Discovery 3 bits and bobs. Today it is the oil cooler replacement. And sadly to say, I don't know about sadly to say, I'm doing it anyway, but I think my issue... Okay, so we've got an oil leak, reading forums, looking at Shane's shed, LR Time, replacing their oil coolers. I started undoing all my oil cooler bits and pieces, and I thought I'll just take the cap off, take the oil filter off, and found the cap a bit loose. So there's a confession for you that maybe this oil leak was a self-made problem. Hard to admit to. And I'd already bought the it's easy for me to talk off without my face on the camera. Bought a new unit, so I thought, sod it, we're going to do it anyway. Many thanks to Shane's shed. Without his video, it would have taken me a lot longer to do. Now, what I really wanted to talk about, so that was one thing. I also had a coolant leak. And a lot of people had spoken about the coolant outlet. Now I'd replaced this, and in fact I'd done a video on it. Specifically the video I'd done, now you'd think I would have gone back and watched, but I think it was about the seal or lack thereof replacement that fits over the oil cooler. And then I had to use some silicone. Now, where's the old unit? Here's the old unit. I haven't cleaned it up yet, and there's something else to talk about. That gasket there, I haven't bought a new gasket. Maybe I didn't watch the Shane's shed video to the end or read the forums properly. Hopefully that cleans up okay, because I'll need that. Now, there you go, so you can see the remnants of my silicone, and that O-ring is rooted. Thankfully the new oil cooler, as you've seen, comes with a new O-ring. Yes, anyway, I'd made a video about the replacement as such. Couldn't find the coolant leak. It was coming off, the coolant's coming out the back on either side of the motor. In fact, I ordered a endoscope or a boroscope to plug into the phone to have a look, thinking that it might be something off the rear of the motor there, but I don't think it is. I think, no, just whilst we're here, I'll show you heaps of gunk in the bottom of the V. I'll get a torch. Can we see that a bit better? So I've just pumped that out. It was full of oil and coolant. And there, right there, now you can see that black murkiness. That is all more oil and coolant. Unfortunately, I can't hold the torch and the screwdriver, but if I sloshed the screwdriver in there, that was all full. So I think, along with the oil, this coolant is all just going that way out the back of the motor. So thankfully I think I've identified the problem. Now the problem, this is the point of the video, right? New component from England. I've got a brand on here. I haven't looked it up to see what the brand was. But you'd think from England that would be getting some quality components. Now this O-ring, oops, sorry, I'll put that one back in. When I say O-ring, it's a gasket. These are quite hard. I don't remember if, so I keep looking and remembering that I've got a camera hand filming that you need to see as well. think they came with the unit. Actually, I'll retract from England, because frankly I just don't remember where I've ordered this from at the minute. That is the truth of the matter. So if I can find my trusty ruler, which I almost lost down the radiator, so I'll put it, here we go, safely aside. So if, yes, you can just make out how that gasket's high there and very low there. I don't think that was, I suspect that wasn't sealing. But there is another issue as well. So if we look over here, see if I can pop. Hang on, I'll put the phone down. Okay, we're back. Now look, nice and flush. In fact, where are we? Reasonably flush. But over here, this bush is a bit proud. And, done it again. Can we see? I can definitely feel the roller catch as it goes over the top. I can see it from here. I can definitely see it. And so that side there is not particularly good. And I've got to say that across the two, that they aren't outrageously flat either. There is a gap on the inside here, and there's a gap on the inside here. So somewhere between the, still going to call them O-rings, sealing rings, the bushes being proud and them not being flat, no wonder it leaked. So nice to have found the coolant leak. I was starting a bit concerned that if it was at the back there somewhere, that was just going to be toast. I didn't think it was going to be head gaskets. So that is the point of the video. So check what you've got before putting it on. Now here's another thing, this idler pulley is one of the first things I did on this vehicle maintenance wise. I don't think it was the bearing, I think it was the spring arm where the spring goes in that had come on the side, and it was flapping around and starting to make a noise. This hasn't done that many Ks, and sure enough, I reckon, and I don't think, it's hard to tell, it looks like that arm's not particularly, let's call it parallel to the pulley there, and by putting a my ratchet with a 3/8 reducer on it, that's how you put some tension on there and pull the pin out and release it and set it to run, that if I push back down on that, relieve the tension, check the bearing's okay, that this is housing. And how I picked this up, when I was underneath the vehicle looking for my coolant leak and thinking about my oil leak, it was quite gappy at the bottom, and there's no gap at the top there, and when I push it down, hang on, I'll pause again. Right, see if, you won't be able to see, I don't think. Should put an extension on. I suspect you will be able to hear, I'll have to review that after, it binding on the top side there. So even that's another shitty part. And I suspect that's like a proper gates. Once again, it's been a while and I haven't checked. I wouldn't know where to start to check for this one. A proper gates or proper whoever brand either pulley. So there's another thing that needs to be done. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll push on with the job and let you know how I get on. Okay, cheers. Thought I'd just follow up with my video. I might have to even remake the other one, but see how we go. For coolant leaks, it is easily possible that you could have a coolant leak off the bottom of the oil cooler. You can see here where are we? Yes, how the coolant comes in and out of the motor there. That's what this new gasket, or the gasket is for. I've cleaned up the old one to seal. Now, if you had loose bolts, if the gasket, I mean, it's pretty sturdy, that's a metal gasket with a coating on it. I guess the cooler itself, if it could split, I don't see anything wrong as yet. I haven't got it really well cleaned up, and it might even be hard to see that if that was to have a problem. Anyway, coolant leaks could come about not just from this coolant outlet, but the interaction of the oil cooler, because obviously you have coolant flowing through this thing. So that is another place to look as well. This V holds a lot. It's quite deep and can hold a lot of gunk in there. I had a pump, in fact 2 pumps, that shit themselves, and I've just got in there with a syringe now and soaked most of it up, and I think that's probably about as clean as I'm going to bother. Don't judge me. More interesting that's getting this thing back on the road. I have the same issue as Shane, I think it was Shane, of the plug here with the green clip has just completely fallen apart just by almost looking at it. Fell in a million bits, so hopefully I will attempt the same thing, get a new plug from a wrecker's, pull out the green clip, put it in, and that should resolve that. Hopefully that goes smoothly. But anyway, I'm in the process of sticking the new oil cooler in. I don't know what I'm going to do about this sucker yet. I think I can just file down the bush. I might just file down, might put it in the mill maybe, machine these flat. It's not a great setup with coolant, heating, cooling, a bit of pressure, you know, and it's just held on with 2 screws either side. 3 would obviously be the way to go. Yeah, I'm not too happy with these either, but I've got to get this vehicle back on the road, and unfortunately it might be a little bit of a bodge job, and I suspect there's going to be some silicone involved here. Yeah, not my greatest moment, but you know, it's not like I'm just going to get these off the shelf. Don't know what I'm going to do there. Okay, ciao. And I can confirm, using a 12-inch rule, I think you can see that there. We look closer. The gap in the middle, touching on the outside. Not that you can obviously, look at the top there. Maybe a bit less obvious that side. Almost had it. Aha. Right. So what I'm going to do, I think, is I've got a hope of, I can't even hold this in the vise. Look at, very complex product. I wonder if that M is for male. It looks like it's going to be that way. It looks like it's a proper European product. This is pretty disappointing. So yes, complex product. Can't hardly hold in a vise to mill it. It's going to be a job for an angle grinder. Very gently take off these outside edges. Get it. I don't think it has to be exact because the gaskets are doing the sealing here, doing the work. I don't know about reusing those old gaskets. I found some O-rings that fit quite nicely, and they come up to pretty much about flush. Sorry to use 2 of them so they're stacked. So it should give me plenty of crush. I like this idea, and I'm thinking about making a nylon ring just to space it out. And I'll probably just glue the ring in with some sealant. Clean up the degreaser. 0.5 millimeter of I don't know how much crush you could really reliably have on an O-ring, but I think this is the way forward. Otherwise I'll be waiting for one of these and I just can't have the car off the road. So alright, I'll report back once I've got it done. Okay, so I've just had a go at it. Take my angle grinder to it. You can still see the marks in there. This stuff is soft as butter. I guess cast nylon. Oh, who knows what the plastic is. So I used the angle grinder particularly to take the bushes down. And I guess more of the guts. Hang on. Oh, just received some post. Sorry about that. Where were we? Yeah, just don't try this at home, really. You're talking about expensive, lovely motor vehicle, expensive motor. They're all expensive, let's face it. But my theory is that really it's the rings doing the sealing. Now I'm not sure about this inner section here. Is that meant to sit flat with the face? But that wouldn't. That's not good enough to seal. It's got to be the rings doing the sealing. You know, the whole thing was on the piss, so I've gotten them down. They're still not dead flat, but what I did manage to find was another set of O-rings, thicker O-rings, that fills out the space. And lovely crush there, and sort of did a test with just putting that bit of angle there, close the vise up, because what I don't want is it to be too heavy on the crush and distorting the plastic. So I just push that up, and I can quite happily push that down by hand. And look, I'll still probably get the silicone out as well, just to make doubly sure. But those two O-rings there, they're stacked, they're the same size as each other. Hopefully I've got another two to do the other side. You can see what I've been playing with here out of 3 sets. So yeah, got most of the woof out. Left some there to, I didn't want to have to muck around with it too much lest I really stuff it up, and then I'm stuffed. Alright, we push on. Here we go. So I've applied some silicone. Look, this is the high temp stuff. Seriously, the normal plumber silicone will get you 200 degrees easy, so I wouldn't hesitate to use that. Just so happens this is all I have on hand. Now the only reason why I've used it here is to retain these O-rings. They dropped on quite nicely. It was a bit of an interference fit over that inner ring, and there's no shenanigans when I go to put it back on and lose an O-ring and don't pick up on it. And I have pretty much committed in my head to using silicone as well, which, hey, why not? It'll work, and just extra security. Make sure it's dry overnight before driving anywhere. I guess the other reason why not is that if it bleeds out into here, I guess as long as it's dry it'll be alright, but then it could break off into the coolant potentially if it's a bit thin, getting bashed around. Maybe I won't use, because this, I'm very confident in these O-rings here. I'm super happy with the way that has come up. Tested a few times the amount of crush, and that it pulls down super nice, or pushes down. I won't do it now because I've got wet silicone. Or will I? Okay, here we go. But you'll probably not be able to see anything anyway. Anyway, that gap closes up just nicely. Okay, on to the next one. Alright, so oil coolers in. I cleaned up with some Loctite cleaner. You could use isopropyl alcohol, whatever sort of cleaner you want. Oh, hang on. And extracted all coolant, cleaned it right up, cleaned up with the cleaner, any cleaner you want, and then I just went the finest film of silicone, given that I'm reusing the gasket. Now, this bastard here is some fun. So I actually had to refer back to Shane's shed video a couple of times just to get it out and then to put it back in. I was putting it back in the right way. This leg here hits like these little low spots on either side. This one drops in easy. This one here interferes. You just got to force that bastard in. Just go for it. Like, that's just how it's done. Now, you won't be able to drop it back in either. You think, oh, you beauty, you've put the knock sensor back in. I put the glow plug manifold connection back on. That was not the right thing to do. Leave that off. Left hand side looking towards the rear of the car. It's got written on it for right, and it's brown, the other one's left. Leave this one loose, because you need to get access and see what you're doing to be able to push that rear. I don't know, you might flick it might drop on for you. You know, I had this down pushed on, but then I couldn't reseat that rear plug, and then this will push on easy. Okay, as you can see here, look how well I've got that cleaned up, ready for this crossover manifold. So going good. Same problem, I think Shane, pretty sure it was Shane, had, where are we? The fuel cooler, little green clip has fallen apart in a million pieces. I'm about to go off to a wrecker's. He hasn't rung me back. Thought he'd have one. And I was going to get this on, get the hard stuff done, this coolant crossover line on with some silicone so that it can dry up overnight, and we're good to go outside of oil and coolant flush. Next update. Too bad, so sad. Had it fully reassembled apart from one spare bolt, which I think I'll now find where it goes, given that I've had to pull some of it apart again. I've managed to brake, so I got it together, started the car up because I had lowered mode, to put it in a raise mode, and I could smell it first before I heard it, and that was a diesel leak. And what it was coming in, thankfully I haven't had to pull it all apart again. It was a matter of getting this up, get some access behind it off the back of the high pressure fuel pump. And don't do this, kids. Snapped that there, and that was probably when I took that I don't know what it's called, that black two-legged job off. Was I too rough? Is this legit brittle? I had already broken the insert there, green insert out, and held that on with a cable tie. That's right. Now I was going to make a video or add to a video about that. So you can wrap a cable tie in around there. There's sealing. It seals on the pipe by its own internal O-ring there, or sealing ring. So these plastic tabs are there just to stop it off. There's a shoulder on the pipe. Yeah, you can see them down there. You see that shoulder? That's all those bits of plastic do. So you can get, if you're broken, here's a bit of broken plastic. So you can get a cable tie around there and hold that on, which is what I did here. only to break it again. This is also green off this top end. So hopefully, I haven't yet sourced. I was trying to source, just a plug, fuel plug, and did what Shane did and retrieved a bit of plastic out of it. But now I don't need just the plug, I need the whole line. So I was so close. Too bad, so sad. Alright, I'll update you on the next one. Okay, next update. It's the day after. I have the new fuel line, 122 Aussie dollars. So there it is there. Used to have a green insert, now it's got a blue one. This doesn't make much difference. I think what I should do first, so I've clipped it on. It comes to the front here on the fuel cooler on top of the oil cooler. That I should take that off first and get this jibby jobby. I don't know what this one's called. I think this was the problem. So when I did it last time, I forced that in. That right leg dropped in alright, and then I was just forcing that left leg in. We'll pull that plug off, get this back on, and do the plug after. So if you're doing this job, it would pay to take that plug off first if you can see it, get to it before attempting to pull this out and avoid the same problem I had. I'll let you know how I go directly. I might retract all that statement just yet, but this may hold true. Hang on. So that has helped a lot. It was a lot easier to get this in with this rear line unplugged. As you can see, it's still loose. I will, turned Irish, be able to push this back on easy enough. But it's a real jigsaw puzzle. Oops, sorry. Because what you need to do, it's all here loose. I've got this loose, this jibby jobby loose, but I've still got to do you can't put this on until the glow plug rail or manifold is back on. So you need access, and lift that up and get fingers or whatever to push that manifold down. Then that can go down, then this hose on, and I believe I've got the right hand side, well it's the left hand side isn't it, but this other glow plug manifold is loose as well, so I need to remember that. But so all loose, glow plugs, this, then the hose. And getting more into the weeds here. Look at this fuel leak back return line with a sensor on it. When I had this plugged in, this loop I had around the other, more or less pointing out this side. I'm only 2 sleeps into this job, and all of a sudden you start to forget, or things sort of fall out of position. It's always so easy to, usually the plugs can only go one way and the hoses are the way typically when you pull things off, but once you start prodding and losing focus, things drag on, things get a bit out of whack. So look at this is how close, everything's just so tightly packed in. It's got to go in one way and go in order. Anyway, so here's this line, loops around right next to the oil filter housing. Okay, work's progressing. It's not the hardest job and it's not the easiest job. It's just become harder, I think. Over a couple of days things become a little bit fuzzy. It's funny because you start to understand the system better and you get to see all the bits and pieces you read about in forums, like the glow plug setup and leak back return line, and sort of becomes simpler, but at the same time it sort of becomes physically hard as well. Probably having done a full day of work beforehand doesn't make life much easier. Anyway, what I actually was coming to say, just don't forget left hand thread on the fan. I've been using a 15-inch shifter for this every time, and the U-Butte hammer, and that works a treat. And if it's not coming off, so right hand down to undo, you just need to get onto a bit more, and you'll find it goes. Once it goes, it will just go chum, and away you go. And I know I've done it the wrong way around. It's not helping you now unless you've watched through to the end of the video, which is a good way to do it. Watch the whole thing first, read all the forums first before attempting a job. This air outlet down to the turbo, there's no hose clamp like you have on the air filter end. It just sits there and it's retained with the 2 screws, and as you're trying to pull it out, it's just pretty much reef it out, give it a wiggle, and it comes out quite nicely, and same reverse. A quick bit of chit chat here about just changing the coolant. Just made it a bit easier for a bit more room to put it in, extend the height with the suspension, but run up on some blocks as well. There's the old stuff. Look, in hindsight, I did this coolant change. I changed the coolant because I did the thermostat. Car was just they take a long time to heat up. And I thought, oh, maybe the thermostat's a bit bung, but and stuck open. But no change whatsoever. And as I read that, they're notorious for taking a long time to heat up, which is probably a good thing. It's nice to get some heat in winter though. I don't have the diesel heater in this. Okay, so no heater with a rear aircon. Supposedly it holds 9 litres. Looks like I've got most of it. Now, it came out very clean. Most of it came out in here first. I don't know if you can see, but there's only a few bits and bobs of stuff in there. Not even an oily film on top at all. There is a couple of litres. It was, I guess, a bit watered down with the demineralised water by a couple of litres. I guess that's the main reason, but if you haven't watered it down, it's probably not worth changing. I've just used these tools. The mighty grips do the job. I should have bought a long time ago the special tool to do these pain in the backside hose clamps. I only ever dropped off this hose, and once again everything's sort of built to perfection where there's no space. Like, you've got to push this top clamp out here back, bring it back to be able to get this clamp off the spigot, off the thermostat. Slide that one back, get this up off, just push this up off the bracket here, and that one pulls back, and we'll fill it up, and that should be okay. Now the other thing I haven't done, and I'll just look at it. Oh, I've done my packet, very slow to move. Yes, and the coolant bottle has completely drained as well, so that's fantastic. No demin left in the system. I was wondering how I was going to empty this coolant bottle of what was ever left there, and it just drained itself from the one hose, so that is good. There's new coolant ready to go in, pre-mixed, ready to go. And there's 5 litres in each. So hopefully we're left with just a litre left, and I'll let you know directly. Hang on. So I got nearly 5 litres in without the engine running. but I wouldn't take any more. The reservoir with here was full. Started up and straight away the level went down. You can see the air bubbles coming out here. As far as I can tell, this one's the only bleed point. I think some of them, maybe this is an 05, this car. Some of them have a bleed on this crossover line. I don't even remember bleeding last time. You think the air's going to make its way out through this, and maybe not with the cap on. Yeah, I don't know, because once it pulls down, the liquid coolant level goes down. If it goes low for whatever reason, it's got to let air in to get the coolant down, but cannot let air out. I don't know. Thermostat, so just to be clear, is about there. You take off that small bash plate and you'll soon see it, and the screwdrivers I showed you before, the hose is stuck on very tight. You know, try to best I could just to pull it off, and needed levering off. Alright, so I've put in 7 litres I've been able to fit in. I ran the engine just for a little bit. That is right up there, pretty much close to the cold line. I ran the engine outside of that first 5 litres. They didn't seem to make much difference for the second 2. Previous experience from a couple of days back when I just topped it up with D-Min after I'd done the work. I needed to use the car, so I topped it up to the cold fill line, just oiled the car, bit of heat on the temperature gauge. I think the thermostat had opened up at that stage, and then it dropped quite the way down in the bottle. Didn't use the entire bottle, but certainly got down, and I anticipate that happening again. But once the thermostat opens up, we'll use most of that tank. So we can probably to about 8 litres, close to 8 litres I suspect, out of the 9 litres that I was meant to go in, just dropping off the thermostat hose on the one side. Like I was saying, it's pretty hard to pull off the one big hose. Very constrained in there, constricted. You know, you've got to do things to get out other things. And wasn't just not in the mood to, a bit over it. Take off the hose on the other side of the thermostat. It did drip or come to a very slow run and then a drip. I suspect there's a bit of a bypass, you know, that the thermostat's not hermetically sealed. You know, once it's closed, that it will be just a little bit open anyway, just for this reason, if nothing else, to make draining a bit easier. So I think pretty thorough. You know, had I taken off the other hose to the other side, was I going to get any more out of it? You know, you've got to expect some still in the system, particularly for the rear heater. So yeah, I think job's done. I'm going to leave the bash plates off for a while just to let it prove itself. Now that's what I was going to talk about. When I first had my problem of breaking my hose here, no doubt it was my fault, that we had a lot of diesel. This one here was full, this hole with a fastener in the bottom of it, which I sucked out with a syringe. Just start the motor, let it idle, and there was quite a bit of smoke. You could smell the diesel. Somehow I managed to end up, I guess, on the exhaust, and I was smoking, so I was happy to let it idle to just burn that off without running around and getting red hot. There was a lot of diesel down here in the V. Yeah, it wasn't like a swimming pool, but on top of the, I guess on top of the fuel cooler, taking these plugs on and off on top of that. But despite how much, let's have a look. I mean, I think this is all the fuel, really. Fuel loss, no particular issues with it stinking of burnt diesel or smoke or anything. Even after quite a few minutes of driving, it should have been hot. Not highway speeds, but just 60 km an hour. There's something else to be said for this. I have ordered new, when I bought this line here, 122 Aussie dollars, and that's about as cheap as I could find it anywhere really, and I had it in my hot little hand straight away rather than waiting for it so I can get the job done. And they were trying to sell me this, they call it a fuel spill line. So this is the leak back from the injectors, and as far as I understand, the point of this line is that the injectors are pilot, opened by pilot, internal pilot from the, it's the fuel pressure does the opening, so you have a small impulse, I guess, from the coil or the piezo, whatever's in the injector, opens a small hole, uses the fuel pressure to, I guess, push the stem up to that lets the diesel through the tiny injectors holes into the cylinder. So that pilot operation, you've got this fuel in the line. What do you do with it? You've got to relieve it somehow. So that ends up here. Anyway, so they're trying to sell me a line for $450, I think it was, and I got on AliExpress one for $60, total delivered. Sure, it's not going to be original, but Jesus, it's just too big a difference to ignore. And they all look the same. All these other aftermarket ones on eBay, $80 I think, was about the next cheapest, and still coming from China. No diff. So anyway, all right, that's about it. It's really been a very jumpy video. You know, my videos are pretty crap, but I'm trying to give you the detail on what to be looking out for and how to do the job, you know, not step by step. Hats off to guys like Shane who set the camera up and the lighting. You know, you've got to think about the job, but you're putting the effort to film at the same time, and yeah, that's not my bag. So I do it a bit differently, but I think it all adds up. Alright, take care and see you on the next one.